I've got the recipe for you. This dip is just amazing. It just melts in your mouth. Ooh. Bon appetit. Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. Let's celebrate. Yes, we are celebrating 35 years in business this year and we are so excited. We've come a long way since my home kitchen in 1984. So today we're going to do vintage Vera. We're going to celebrate recipes through the decades and I'm so excited. We're going to start with the mushroom casserole. It's going to be your new side dish. Then we're going to move to what we call deviled shrimp. It's wonderful as an appetizer, but can be great as a spread. Then finally, we're going to have a throwdown with the carrot cake. It's going to be fantastic. I have two very special guests today. Ann Boardman was my first guest on the first show I ever filmed. And then her granddaughter, Carter, was my high school employee that was amazing. In Vera's Corner today, we're going to talk about how to grow fresh herbs in the winter. So let's get in the kitchen and get started. You know, I'm so excited to be taking myself back in time to some of my favorite recipes through my 35-year history in catering. And this recipe kind of represents the 80s to me. I lived in Madison, Georgia at the time, and Chris Lambert was the noted hostess in town. She was also the representative's wife, and she had this recipe published in the First Lady's Cookbook, Mary Beth Sampler. And as you can see from the pages, I used this cookbook and that recipe to death. So I hope you will too. And as always, our recipes are available on our website at VeryVera.com. So what I did ahead was I went ahead and put a little butter in my saute pan and cooked down the mushrooms just to get them just cooked just a little bit. But one thing you want to remember is never salt those mushrooms during that process because it's going to pull out all the moisture and you don't want that to happen. So let's start with all the yummy ingredients that go with this. We're going to start with mayonnaise, which to me is just a great component in a casserole. Then we're going to add in some chopped celery, some Vidalia onions. It's not a southern casserole without those. And then some bell pepper. And you know, I usually don't like bell pepper and I'll leave it out, but in this recipe, I love it. So now we're just going to mix that together and then add in my mushrooms. And if there's a little bit of juice in there left, that won't make any difference. All right, and so this is where, at this point, you would add your salt. And just think about the other ingredients that are going in here. We've got some cheddar cheese and that sort of thing, so don't get carried away. And a little freshly ground pepper. All right, so I've got my casserole dish already greased and ready. And then I'm just using white bread. And you can just rip it apart with your hands, just get it all good and ready. We're going to put half of that in the casserole dish. Just spread it about. And then let's pour in all this yummy mixture. And this is like one of those overnight stratas that you can make it the night before, or you can make it first thing that morning if you're serving it that night. Spread this around. All right, now I'm going to add my beaten eggs to the milk and just stir that around with a fork. So let's top all the rest of this bread. And now we're going to pour this over it. All right, so like I said, you need to let this sit. But the good news is I've already done that. So let me put this one in the refrigerator and pull out the one I've already done. All right, so it's set up really nicely. So the last thing you're going to do is add a can of Campbell's mushroom soup. This goes to show you this is an 80s recipe. And then the last 10 minutes of baking, we're going to put some cheddar cheese on top. So this is going to be ready to go in the oven in just a minute. And when we come back from the break, we're going to introduce you to Ann Boardman, and we're going to get started on the recipe she and I did together on the very first show, Deviled Shrimp. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and if you are just joining me, I just finished a mushroom casserole from the 80s that's in the oven. I got that cream of mushroom soup on the top of it before it went in, and it is smelling fantastic. But I have a very special guest with me right now. Ann Boardman was my very first guest on the very first show we ever did. And
8 years ago.
I know. Can you believe it?
I cannot.
She doesn't look a bit different than she did then. Oh my gosh. Well, it has been quite a ride. Ann Boardman was a board member of my company. She was a noted hostess in this community. I did many, many events at her home and with her for groups. And when we were together on the first show, we made devil's shrimp because that was the rage in the 80s. And so you helped me that day. Then a couple of years later, I had Susan Mason from Savannah, and she came and we made it into a starfish on a silver tray. It was just elegant, beautiful. But you had a great idea for today.
Well, we'll try it.
We're going to do bite size, because everybody passes. And,
people like that.
You and I have said that we don't like to eat a lot at parties. All right, so we have softened some cream cheese. I'm going to ask you to cut the shrimp, medium size, into about thirds. And so we've got some yummy ingredients we're going to add to this. We're going to add Wickles relish. Do you know Wickles?
I have never heard of Wickles.
Okay, well, the recipe says India relish, but we're kind of
where do
changing
you buy
it a bit.
Wickles?
You could, at any of the grocery stores, and it's got a little kick to it, Ann.
Oh, good.
Kick.
I love spicy
So
food.
that was that was Tabasco sauce. Now this is Durkee's. And then we got, again, Vidalia onion, but chopped really fine. And then we've got some cocktail sauce with horseradish.
Yeah.
So this dip does have a little bit of a bite, but it's not overbearing, not overpowering. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and some fresh ground pepper.
Ooh.
All right.
So good.
Okay, so I'm gonna mix this together. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start adding some of those shrimp that you're getting cut there. All right, and so we're gonna start building. And what I've done here is we've always used silver when we entertained at Ann's house. So I've got a silver tray and it's covered with fig leaves. And we're just gonna actually spread a little bit of this. And I love for the shrimp to be kind of chunky. I'm gonna put just a little bit on the top. And then Ann, I'll take that from you. And then I'm gonna let you start garnishing as I do it. But Ann, when I met you, I was brand new in Augusta, brand new catering. And I just want to know what in the world made you take a chance on me?
I guess I could see that entrepreneurial spirit hidden somewhere down. I counted up the other day, you have started like 4 or 5 businesses since you came to Augusta. And I admire that so much. You closed one door and you opened 3 more.
Well, and just the fact that you were willing to take a chance on me made me work that much harder not to disappoint you.
Well, you never did.
Well, and the other thing I would love for the audience to know is that, do you have any tips? We're using a silver tray and you had some of the most gorgeous silver. How did you look after it?
Well, I don't think of shining silver as a chore like most people do. My father was in the silver business, so I grew up with it, and it was just a restful thing for me to do.
Well, and that's the way to introduce it. All right, so we are going to keep building this appetizer, and when we come back from the break, you're going to meet Carter Boardman Foxworth, who is Ann's granddaughter and is also part of the VeryVera history. And we're going to do something really fun together. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Fresh herbs are some of the easiest plants to grow, and I love to keep an herb garden all year. So today, let me give you some tips on how you can grow your own. Let's start with which herbs to select. A few of my favorites are basil, rosemary, thyme, and oregano. These herbs are generally very easy to grow and are fairly forgiving if you forget to water. Next, you need to determine if you want each herb in their own pot or in a pot together. Rosemary, thyme, and oregano all prefer drier soil, so those can be potted together without any issues. Basil prefers more moisture, so pot it by itself or with other moisture-loving herbs like tarragon or cilantro. If you decide to plant mint, it needs to be potted alone or it will overtake your other herbs. When you're ready to pot, use well-draining soil in containers. Your container should have a drainage hole at the bottom. Fill your container to about 3/4 full with potting soil. Then make sure there are some indentations in the soil for your herbs. Loosen up the root ball a little and then place in the hole. Pack in the potting soil around the bottom of the plant and water. Don't forget to place a tray under the container to catch the water. Place your herbs in a sunny location near a window. During the winter, south-facing windows provide the most sun. Now you can enjoy fresh herbs all year round. Welcome back, everybody. And Carter, I am so happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Everybody, this is Carter Foxworth. I'm still learning that as it's only been a year because your anniversary is this weekend.
That's right.
So Carter and Foxy got married a year ago, and Carter actually was part of my mail order department as a high school student. And then I never had to hire temps because you came back during every holiday from the College of Charleston and helped us in the kitchen and in the packaging department. So today, I know you remember, I think it was 2010, you were a sophomore in college, right? Mm-hmm. And we had just been on Throwdown with Bobby Flay.
I remember.
And you know for sure that I beat him, right?
That's right.
And then the orders for carrot cake just went through the roof for the holidays. And
Exactly.
so all of the packaging. So you packaged them, Carter.
A lot of carrot
You
cakes.
never made one. So Foxy, this is for you because we are going to teach Carter here how to make this, and maybe she'll make it for your anniversary.
Ooh.
Okay, the good news about this is you don't even have to use a mixer. So I'm going to add oil to the sugar. And while I'm stirring this, I want you to mix the dry ingredients. So we went ahead and put it all in the bowl, but it's like nutmeg and cinnamon and soda and salt. All right, so we'll come back to that in just a minute. So now we're going to add 1 egg at a time, Carter.
Ooh,
and this
okay.
is hard. Look at there. And then I'm going to stir it up. And so did you get a mixer as a wedding gift?
Oh, yes, I got a mixer, but I love that you don't even need a mixer.
I know. Okay, I'll take another one.
Here we go.
Oh, you're doing so good.
Ooh, pressure's on.
Sure. So this is why this cake is so easy if you've never made a cake from scratch, and I'll take the last one.
All right.
Is that you don't have to use a mixer. All right, so now we're going to add the vanilla to the buttermilk. And people say, why are you using buttermilk? And it's because it really helps make the cake moist, and the buttermilk acts with the soda that you just put into the dry ingredients.
Who knew?
All right, so in this bowl over here, that's the last thing, is all the good stuff. That's the coconut, the pineapple, the pecans, the freshly grated carrots that I grated, we grated in the break, right over there. So I'm going to add liquid, and you're going to add dry.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to add a little of this, and then we'll start stirring about.
Okay.
All right, so Carter's first job was at VeryVera. And honestly, her first day at work was just a nightmare because our frozen truck had broken down and she had to get in there in a 0-degree truck.
Yep, and I do remember it. I think it's when I learned how to act fast on my feet.
And she didn't flinch. I mean, she was frozen when we got through. But you've taken all that entrepreneurial stuff, like you landed a fantastic internship.
Yes, I went to move to New York, and then after moved to Charleston, and have kind of started doing my own thing there, doing brand strategy and marketing consulting for various clients. So It's
You
been
know, she used to listen to
a lot
us
of fun.
talking to corporate customers that ordered from us, and she knew when we got the big orders that had the beautiful cards. So you paid attention to the marketing part.
Yes.
Would you recommend high school internships?
I most definitely would. I definitely attribute a lot of what I've learned and my work ethic to you, which you know.
Well, and you know, I treated you like
I
an
wasn't
adult.
16.
Yes. And so I think that allowed her to step up. Now just look how yummy this is looking.
Delicious.
It's such a moist cake because it's an oil-based cake, but then all of these different things that we're adding to it. All right, so I've prepared the 3 pans with the parchment paper. You put that down first. And of course we have cake circles at
Right.
VeryVera. But if you don't, it's just taking a square of parchment that you can buy at the laying it out, folding it almost like an airplane.
Okay.
And then putting it in the center of the pan upside down and making a mark and then just cutting it. And then you open it up and there you have it. So that's really easy. Then the only other hard part of this is, and you see how easy this is,
So
Carter?
easy.
Is to getting it evenly divided between the 3 pans. So
Okay.
what's your favorite part about this cake?
The carrots.
Well-
oh no, I'm sorry. Not the carrots, the cream cheese icing.
That's right, but the carrots are awesome too. So the recipe is on our website at veryvera.com, and then also we have our own YouTube, so you can go there and learn how to crumb coat these layers. So we're going to get this in the oven, and when we come back, we're going to actually have the 35th year celebration of all the vintage Vera recipes. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Well, girls, I think we've done it. It's amazing, and I feel like I'm looking at the history of my company on this table right now, not to mention the company that I am with today, which y'all have been so much a part of the history of my company. So let's kind of walk back through what we did today. I just want you to look at how scrumptious that looks. I mean, can you see that on a plate with a steak or for a brunch? It would just be amazing. And then Carter, if you would, pick up that tray that would have been exactly the way that we would have passed it at one of Ann's parties with the little nosegay and the streamers. And with her suggestion, because she and I both agree, we don't like to eat at the dining room table. So the little past hors d'oeuvres make it wonderful. And then Carter, you came in with learning how to package all those carrot cakes, which was a feat in itself. But I've shown you today different ways to display it, whether you lay it on its side or whether you let it stand up. But just look how chunky, delicious, and moist. And there's that cream cheese icing you love,
My favorite.
Carter. It's just really great. So we've got a lot of different things here. And through the years of my company and with the show, I always say, put a twist on things. So look at different ways to display an old recipe. Look at other ways that you can create this, like using sourdough bread or portobello mushrooms. You could even put meat in that if you wanted to. And then with the carrot cake, it's a great recipe to learn for a newlywed or for a young person that has never made a cake from scratch. It just works out so well. So we've gone from talking about Throwdown with Bobby Flay. We've talked about the 80s, and this Battenberg tablecloth on the table is reminiscent of the way we used to dress for parties. It was crazy with the apron and the white dress and the white hose, and you loved it, Ann.
I did. I did.
We looked so
No
pretty.
more of those.
No more of that. And then, you know, we recently, I'm talking about your influence as an advisor, as a client, as a friend that wrote me notes. I've kept them all over all of these years. Every time something happened, I got a note. And then Carter, like I said, a newlywed, and what you've done with your entrepreneurial spirit through working in New York and being so engaged with social media and marketing, and your contributions that you made as a young person with me. But sandwiched between these two ladies is a daughter that your mother that has a shoe business. Shoes at Surrey, Shoes on King, and recently our team put their best foot forward, and they all got gift certificates. So they just recently went shopping. They all got a new pair of shoes. So, you know,
fun.
it's the entrepreneurial
Charleston.
aspect, the fact that VeryVera, through these 35 years, has catered weddings, graduations, done special parties, grand opening. It's just wonderful. So like I always say on the VeryVera show, no matter what you do it in good taste. I want y'all to enjoy some carrot cake. And then Charleston Street did these beautiful flowers, and these are for you.
Oh, yum, yum. Thank
And Carter, the little bouquet, it's for you to sit by your bedside table.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank you both for being part of my history and being
Thank
such
you.
special people to me.
Oh.
We'll see you next week.
To see what's cooking with the VeryVera Show, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and on Cottage Ketchup.